what a man is supposed to be and what a man is supposed to do and what a woman is and what a woman does. And so it's like, blue is for boys, pink is for girls. If you're a man, you wear a man's clothes. If you're a woman, you wear, like dresses. You play with dolls. Boys play with monster trucks. All that stuff. And so you have people in there who don't necessarily like all those things that they're told to like, and then so they say, "I don't belong here. I need to fit in somewhere else." And then so they leave those boxes that were built for society, saying, "If you fit in here, this is what you are." They leave it for another one, and I think that I don't know. I don't like the whole thought of jumping from one box to another. And
Okay. Cool. So you checked out the channel already?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I saw. I didn't watch any of the long form videos. I just watched some of the shorts.
Oh, okay.
But I still got a good gist.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the shorts are worth something then. I make them and I'm like, I don't know if these are really worth doing or not, but that's good. So check those out. You got a little bit of a taste of maybe the sorts of questions I tend to ask in these conversations and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Well, first of all, what's your name?
I'm Reid.
Reid? How do you spell that, Reid?
R-E-I-D.
R-E-I-D. I'm Nate. Of course, you already know that. But nice to meet you, Reid.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah. And so you work for the Parks Department, right?
Yeah, just started this summer.
Oh, cool. Awesome. How do you like it so far?
It's good. Just here back from college I'm just trying to make some money before I go back. But
Gotcha. Where do you go to school?
I go to Purdue.
Hey, I graduated from Purdue as well.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yep.
Nice.
A while ago, though. I'm kind of old. I graduated in 2010, so. Did you go to...
No, I went about half an hour from here in Fort Wayne to...
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am a teacher at Fort Wayne, so,
nice.
but I'm originally from here. I graduated from... And my kids are at art camp at the Methodist Church right now. So I've got 3 hours every morning this week to I got some time, so I'm out here doing it. Cool. All right. So a little bit about what I'm doing. I know you already checked out the channel, so you know a little bit about it. But the idea is that I wanted to do this way of having conversations where we can critically examine somebody's thought process and why they believe the things they believe, but in a friendly, civil sort of way. And that's the whole idea. So is there a particular belief that you have or a position that you have that you would like to examine that's on your mind right now?
Not anything in particular, necessarily.
Okay. If there's nothing in particular, what we can do instead is I have these surveys over here. And these surveys kind of go over a lot about just kind of how we think about our beliefs and how we form beliefs and kind of just how we view the world and how we navigate it. Would you like to go through and do this instead? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's a little bit of a different way of having these sorts of conversations, but it still allows us to examine things. So what I'll do is I'll just allow you a little bit of time, and I'll fill it out as well. And for every one of these statements, if you agree strongly, check the first column. If you disagree strongly, check the far one, and then neutral will be in the middle.
All
Cool.
right.
All right, go ahead and take your time. Done. Okay. You were pretty quick through that. Were there any particular statements that you felt a little confused by the wording or anything like that, or would like to maybe discuss what the statement means?
Number 10, if all members of society share a belief, they're justified to hold that belief.
Okay. So what? How did you interpret that statement?
Sort of. I went back and forth on it between whether so if a society shares a belief in something that is based in reality, like we all believe in gravity, are you justified to hold that? Is the whole society justified to hold that belief? I thought of it that way, and then the other way was believing a lie. Are you justified if you're told a lie or some moral wrong. Like, are you is a society justified to hold that belief if they've been presented with a better way or a better or something that falsifies what they do believe in? If they still are they still justified to hold their old belief of what is wrong, even if they've been presented with what is true?
So even if they have evidence against that belief, that sort of thing. What did you wind up putting for that one for number 10?
Disagree.
Disagree? Strongly? Disagree?
Yeah,
Okay.
Everything was either strongly agree
you
or
were
disagree.
strong on everything. Okay. Interesting. I also have disagree for that one. If all members of a society share a belief, they are justified. Because the reason I think of that is because I think what you said, right? If it's something that is false, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't put strongly disagree because I think sometimes, people could, if everybody around you believes something and you don't have reason to think that it's false, but maybe it is false, but you just don't know that it's false. So for example, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, people didn't know about a lot of stuff that we know about now, right? They didn't know about germs, for example, or they didn't know about cells, or they didn't understand how the earth went around the sun, right, for example. And so I think about those sorts of situations, and I think, were they justified to believe that the sun went around the earth? Maybe they were. I mean, if everybody else around them did, and they didn't have any evidence to the contrary. But for me, like, when I think about it, I think about, like, okay, well, how strongly do they believe that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, like, the amount of conviction that somebody has about a belief, I think, kind of comes into play there. But I'm still with you on that one. I'm on the disagree side. Any other thoughts there on number 10?
Not really on number 10. It was just kind of the just kind of what I said of trying to interpret it either of two ways.
Yeah, cool. Any particularly interesting statements in the first section? What is truth? Anything you want to talk about there?
So, number 3, truth depends on the opinions and beliefs of people.
Okay.
I put strongly disagree.
Okay.
I believe that this world does have inherent truths to it that must be accepted by all people. Like, it doesn't matter how you view it. There's nothing that we can actually do to change it. Like I said before, like gravity, it's still going to be a constant force that won't change. And if someone says one day, I don't think gravity's real, I think I can fly, that doesn't change the fact that they can't just lift off the ground.
Okay. So, like, objective truths.
Yes, there are objective truths in this world.
Okay. Can you think of any sort of situations where there could be a subjective truth? Are there subjective truths? Is that a real thing?
Immediately, what I think of is gender when it comes to subjective truth, because that's often a point of discourse.
It's a hot topic right now?
Yeah. And with I think that all of gender identity, everything going along with what am I trying to say?
Transgender, non-conforming, non-binary.
Non-conformist, non-binary, things like that. I think that it's all been wrongly labeled as it's. Whenever I talk to someone who does identify as something other than the gender they were born as, they'll talk about how they never fit within the box that defines what a person is. And I used to have a very solid sight of, like, a very ignorant side of these people are just being, like, ignorant, or they're being nonsensical or whatever. But as I've met more people, as I've grown as a person, I've come to more associate as I've come to more so see when people assign themselves a gender, it is more so matching personalities to into a box, into another one. It's leaving one box for another.
Okay.
Like we have these what are they?
Like cultural expectations, maybe,
Yes,
or
yes, we have-
stereotypes, or
yeah,
something
cultural
along those lines?
expectations of what a man is supposed to be and what a man is supposed to do and what a woman is and what a woman does.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, blue is for boys, pink is for girls. If you're a man, you wear man's clothes. If you're a woman, you wear, like dresses. You play with dolls. Boys play with monster trucks. All that stuff. And so you have people in there who don't necessarily like all those things that they're told to like, and then so they say, I don't belong here. I need to fit in somewhere else. And then so they leave those boxes that were built for society, saying, if you fit in here, this is what you are. They leave it for another one. And I think that I don't know, I don't like the whole thought of jumping from one box to another. And
Okay. So, coming back to like the statement from the sheet was talking about, you were bringing up like subjective truths and that sort of thing. Maybe I did. I don't remember. Do you see those boxes as being like subjective truths, or is it more like the self-identification is a subjective truth, or where'd you make that connection? I'm curious.
I would say I think it also connects with the whole societal view part too. Back with 10.
Okay, yeah.
I was kind of thinking of that too, about how society has allowed these boxes to exist, and
Okay.
then so people take personality and they align it with a box, and then gender identity is then based on personality rather than being founded within an objective truth like biology.
Yeah, so do you see like biology and sex as being like more of an objective truth thing?
Yeah.
And then, please correct me if this is not your position. I'm just trying to clarify and understand. If I ever say anything that's not what you're thinking, do tell me, so I don't want to like put
Of
words in
course.
your mouth, that sort of thing. So maybe biology and sex are more objective, and then what we call gender or gender identity or maybe gender roles or gender stereotypes or those sorts of things, are those kind of like the box that you're imagining?
Yeah.
And those are more subjective, more societally dependent.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying or not? Because if it's not, it's okay.
I'm trying to think
Feel
of
free
how
to
I can word
expound
this
on
more.
that. And yeah.
I'm trying not to word salad.
Maybe it's not
Yeah.
right. It might not be quite exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that there are boxes that are built around the objective truth that we do have, that there is man and there is woman.
Okay.
And over time, as a society, we have decided, when I say we, I mean humans throughout history have somehow decided that if you are a man, you must do the things that are in the box you must exist within the box for men. And if you are a woman, you must exist within the box for women. And so if you disagree with either, if you are in the box for men and you don't like it, you don't like doing things that a man does, then or same with women, you're presented with a third option, which is to leave those boxes and relocate to another one.
Okay.
And or several or 50 more. There
Okay.
is a place for you.
All right. So, kind of the idea is that there's two boxes. Let me just see if this is kind of how you're picturing things, right? So there are these two boxes, and we've built around, you said, and maybe this inside the circle is like sex. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like male and female sex, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sex
And then like there's all this other stuff that's around it: expectations, roles, maybe stereotypes, culture, kind of stuff.
yeah.
Is that kind of accurate to how you're imagining
That's
that?
a good depiction.
And then you're saying there are also like these other boxes
that
are around, and do some of those boxes like overlap some of the other? Like, are there boxes that are like...
Yeah, there are boxes that overlap.
Overlapping.
The thing is, there are a lot of boxes, and what I want to do
Feel free-
is,
here,
or
you can
what
take
I
that if you want to.
what I believe should happen is, so we have male, we have female, and then we have the boxes that hold your personality. We should get rid of all the expectations,
Okay.
all of the boxes, so that we are just left with the objective truth of what there is.
Okay.
And I think it would clear up a lot of confusion that people have, or not confusion because that's the wrong word, but it would get rid of a lot of baggage, I guess.
Okay.
But if we're just left with the objective truth that everyone understands that I am born a man or I am born a woman, I can't do anything to change that, but I can dress however I want. I can like whatever I want. I can believe whatever I want, but
Okay. So more freedom to do that sort of thing?
yeah, we associate sex and gender as being we have unconsciously tied sex and gender to personality.
Okay.
And so then you have people saying that sex and gender are two different things, or that they are the same thing. You know, people are in either camp, but
Okay.
yeah.
Do you think that there are any real connections between sex and gender and personality, or do you think it's all cultural?
I don't really know.
That's a great answer, actually. I respect that. Saying you don't know when you don't know, especially if you really haven't given much thought to something, is, in my book, admirable. Saying you don't know. Interesting, yeah. So I think I'm kind of understanding how you're conceiving of sex and gender. And so sex is kind of this thing that's been built up societally, and you kind of... Correct me if I'm wrong again. It sounds like you see gender as being like these expectations, these boxes that people put into, so we got to organize you into a box. That's what we're saying. Organize yourself into a box. Put yourself in a box, or we'll put you in a box, or one way or another we need you in a box.
Yeah.
And you're saying, get rid of the boxes, abolish the expectations, don't worry about gender roles or stereotypes. Just let everybody do what they want, be who they want to be. Does that sound right?
Yeah, as far as societal expectations based upon your sex, I don't think that people should have. I believe people should have freedom to do whatever they want, but I also feel that people should have the common sense not to do whatever they feel like whenever. But that's another thing.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah, I mean, if I feel like jumping off a bridge, I shouldn't go do that. But
in regards to what we're speaking on about personality and the connection between personality and gender and all that, I think that they should have that tie should be severed, because it's the modern interpretation of gender is like it's like it's trying to describe personality when in reality it has nothing to do with it. That's my belief, but I truly do not know if there's a correlation between someone's born sex and their personality outside of societal boxes.
Okay.
I mean, I've had friends come out to me and tell me that they're trans and all. I don't. I have a very conservative, or not super conservative, view. But I just ask them like, oh, Like, why?
Mhm.
And then they'll tell me that, well, most of the time they'll tell me that it's because, like I said, they didn't like doing things that were associated with the female gender, and so they really like stuff that like guys do. Like one of my friends loves Sonic the Hedgehog.
Me
But
too.
yeah, I know. Like who doesn't? But she was always told. She was always told you can't do that. Like that's
Oh, really?
yeah. Like
Oh, that's too
she would
bad.
go over to sleepovers and go like, hey, let's play Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's and then the other girls would tell her, no, girls don't do that. And she's like, that's where the cog started spinning. And so I just that's where I started to think of this, because there has to be a reason for why people do transition genders, and I don't know, and I want to understand, but this is just the closest thing I've come to trying to figure out why.
Huh. I'm wondering if you could try to like encapsulate your stance on sex and gender in like a tweet or an X or whatever it is now.
Yeah.
What do you think that would be? How would you phrase that?
That's a tough question. I deleted X,
Yeah, me
Twitter,
too.
whatever, and all that social media. But
You're probably healthier because of it.
yeah, I like to think so.
Or just like a topic sentence if you want to go that way. I believe gender is, or I believe sex is, or I believe sex and gender are.
I believe sex and gender are who you're born as. I believe personality is what you choose.
All right, so maybe sex and gender are innate. Would that be a fine word for that?
Yeah.
Okay. And personality is chosen?
Yeah.
Like someone can choose to have a certain personality? Okay, whereas they can't choose their sex and gender. And along with this, sex and gender are innate. Are you saying that, are they the same thing?
Sex and gender are the same thing, but yeah, sex and gender are the same. It's really, I've always been trying to find the words for how to describe my view of this, but it's, man, to just kind of think of it as a tweet. Yeah.
Okay.
Sex and gender are the same thing. They cannot be separated. But gender is often... personality is often labeled as gender without us realizing it.
Okay. So what people think of as gender is actually just part of their personality?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's not necessarily innate?
yeah.
Okay. Gender is part of... All right. So thinking about these, this kind of overall view, how confident are you that this is true?
How confident am I that sex and gender are the same thing, and
What people call gender is
people call
actually...
gender is actually personality?
Yeah.
I would say I am... Well, if I was 100% certain, I would be more confident I would be more confident saying this, but I feel pretty strongly about that.
Pretty strongly?
I feel pretty strongly. I'd say I'm about 85%.
Okay.
Because I also know people that like have transitioned because they have not because they have like, what is it, like gender dysphoria
Okay.
and all of that, or they've gone through such a traumatic event where they're like, I no longer want to be associated, or at the hands of people of their own gender, that they've said, I no longer want to be associated with this at all. And so that's like a whole different bag where changing your gender becomes a form of like coping in order to maintain mental homeostasis, sort of.
Interesting. Okay. Would you say that? Well, I'm strike that. What do you think your strongest reason is for believing this?
I would say it's a combination of my friends, first off, who I've mentioned before, and then
Like your trans friends specifically?
yeah,
Okay.
who like I've talked to them extensively about this because I mean they're my friends. I want to know about them. I want to know more about them. I want to know what they think, why they do what they do, and then it's just also been such a point of public discourse that it's a point of public discourse that we can't or it seems like we can't say this is right, this is wrong because of truths that people make, I guess, or
Those kind of personal, subjective truth
Yeah.
sort of things, as opposed to objective truths.
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah, and so we have the people who are in the corner of subjective truth versus the people who are in the corner of objective truth, and they're battling and they can't find a lot of common ground, and so I want to kind of find that common ground. I want to figure out, why is this happening, and does it even need to happen? Because this hasn't been this topic hasn't been a
Divisive.
divisive to the point that it is now in all of in all of history. I mean, we've always had the more like in every country or almost every country there's been a consistent view of gender roles and everything, and kind of a beating down of like anything that stands out from that. And now that we have social media and more of a platform for people to speak, and we live in a country of free speech, we're going to have it would only make sense that it's more public now.
Okay. So the fact that there's this public discourse is part of what's giving you the confidence? Or is it just that you've thought about it a lot more, you mean? Or...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
I've thought about it a lot more. Oh, you have like a bug on your shirt.
Oh gosh. Yeah. What are you? Yeah.
I think that's an earwig. But...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have your friends' personal stories.
My friends' personal
And
stories.
your friends' personal stories, when they talk about their experiencing gender dysphoria or being transgender, that makes you think that gender is actually part of personality. Is that right?
No. Not when people have like gender dysphoria from like trauma that they have had from people of their own gender. Because like, man, one of my friends has gone through some terrible stuff, and like I understand why they wanted to transition like perfectly.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's terrible, but I'm talking about my my friend who didn't fit into the designated box that
Okay.
she was born into. The ones who don't necessarily have any sort of traumatic experience that would cause them to transition as a form of coping, but
They didn't.
rather they didn't find where they fit, so they tried to go somewhere
Okay.
where they would fit.
And so they tried to move into like a different box.
They tried to move into a different box, but then of course they're not accepted into that box because it's like, hey, you're not really one of us because you're from that box. So then they have to jump to another box, and then it's all
Okay. And so you see a solution to this, possible solution to this, is to eliminate the boxes.
Eliminate the boxes.
What would a society where you didn't have the boxes look like? How would it be different from this society?
Well, for one thing, there wouldn't be. Well, I would believe there wouldn't be many. Everyone would either be male or female. That'd just be something accepted. I'd like to think we'd have less hate towards people of other chosen genders. But honestly, I don't.
So
know.
when you say other chosen, so would we still have a concept of? Could
Well, no.
choose a
Like,
gender,
it wouldn't be
or?
no. It wouldn't be.
Or just what we currently call like gender stuff?
What we currently call something that would be gendered would be like cut out, like gendered clothing, I guess. I mean, I would never. Cross dressing's not for me, but I don't see a problem with someone else doing it. I like fashion.
In a society like this, though, would there even be such a thing as cross dressing?
No, there wouldn't be. There'd just be clothing.
It'd just be clothing, and people can wear whatever appeals to them without maybe having to worry about societal expectations, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's not a world where everyone's like. It's not a world where everyone's the same at all, because we got rid of stuff like some dystopian world. But it also wouldn't be a utopia, because not everything would be perfect. But at least we'd have this down, and I think it would cause less. I like to think it would cause less suicide-related. Well, less.
Is that a significant concern for you?
That people are unhappy. They're. I guess this is one of the reasons why I thought about this a lot, is because, you look at the suicide rates and you look at what demographic they're the highest in, and you'll see that it's really high in people who have transitioned and they're unhappy. Granted, there's a lot more going on too, that other than just, I'm not saying that the reason why is transitioning, but I think it puts some mental anguish on the person a little bit when
they don't fit in those boxes.
When you don't fit in a box, you're not accepted, and so you try to find. So then you transition into you transition over to being in a gender where you're also not accepted, because people know, based on an objective truth, whether it's conscious or unconscious, they know that there's something different about you, that you don't belong, and then you don't really have much of a place to fit in. You're feeling unwanted by a community, by a community, and you're trying to force yourself. You're trying to force. The ego is trying to force the body into being something that it knows that it's not. Because, I guess that's another thing with objective truth, is that, on a very basic level, we know we can't change ourselves, whether we realize it or not. It's I just think that causes some kind of, that does cause a discourse. And I know if I was going through turmoil both internally and facing turmoil from the exterior world, I would feel hopeless and hated, and I would consider suicide a possibility. And I don't want people to kill themselves.
It sounds like other people's well-being is maybe a kind of a core value that's maybe underlying this. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
it's kind of what I'm hearing, and so what I'm, again, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is you really care about people's well-being, like your friends, and other people who are transgender or gender non-conforming, or one way or another not fitting into those boxes, right? And so are you seeing maybe if we eliminate the boxes, that increases people's freedom? That increase in freedom and lack of expectation,
acceptance and all
more
that.
acceptance, and then that would then lead to
Yeah.
better well-being for those people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be better for everyone in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't want people to have to. I just don't want people to have to worry about this. It's so small, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, so
I say small,
I'd
but
say maybe another kind
pretty
of
big issue.
position maybe you have is that if we got rid of the boxes, right, people would be happier. People would be safer. We'd have less suicide due to that freedom, that lack of expectation.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have people feeling like they're not fitting into boxes.
yeah,
And that's important to you.
yeah.
How strongly do you feel that that's true? That if we got rid of the boxes, that people's lives would improve?
That I believe 100%. That I am confident on that if we got rid of those boxes and expectations and the hate that people feel towards others who don't fit in, then we wouldn't have as big of a problem with suicide, just suicide rates
Yeah.
amongst everyone in general. Well,
Interesting.
you know what I mean.
So the idea of maybe I'm going to call. Is it okay if I call this like gender abolition? Have you heard that term before?
Yeah.
Like abolishing gender kind of as a concept.
Yeah, I
Is that-
don't agree with that because I
Okay.
believe sex and gender are the same thing,
Okay,
and
so-
that they should exist.
So it's more maybe
They should exist.
stereotype
Yeah,
abolition, perhaps. Okay, I don't want to use the wrong terms. I actually am not that confident I know what gender abolition actually means either.
yeah,
so,
yeah. Because like gender abolition is, since I'm saying sex and gender are tied together. If you got rid of gender, you'd be getting rid of sex, and that.
Or you could just use sex as the word and not even. Either way, okay. So
Yeah,
I just want to make
but-
sure I'm not using the wrong terminology if it's something that you don't believe. Okay,
Yeah.
but this idea of getting rid of the boxes,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can just say that. My sign.
Gender and personality are two different things.
Okay. If we get rid of these gender boxes that seem to be mostly personality stuff, and so you see that as a problem, right? People's lives are going to improve for all those reasons we talked about, and you're 100% confident in that. Is there any reason to think that if we did that, it wouldn't improve somebody's life? Or are there any possible drawbacks or harms to getting rid of the boxes?
Would there be any drawbacks to getting rid of the boxes? Not
Not that you can think of right now?
Yeah, not
Okay.
that I can really. Well, do you? I mean, I'd love to hear what you think.
Before I
About
do, if you were to learn about possible drawbacks or harms from getting rid of the boxes, would that change your confidence from 100%?
Yeah,
It would?
it would.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it sounds like that whole idea of, I want to do this because I think it would improve people's lives, that core value of improving people's lives and looking out for their well-being seems like it's pretty important to you.
Mhm.
Would you agree?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's something to keep in mind, right? So when you're considering this topic, or when I'm considering this topic as well, because I think I've learned a lot from you during this conversation, keeping in mind that core value of people's well-being and improving their lives, and kind of keeping that as like a guidepost to guide us through these conversations, I think that's really important. Would you agree?
yes,
Okay. And it sounds like that's the case because you're saying, hey, if I'm wrong about what I think would happen in this society, or the effects that this sort of change societally would have on people's well-being, I would back off my confidence.
mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
yes.
Cool. But you can't think of anything right now that you can think of would be like a drawback of doing this. I'm not saying this is true. This is just something that I kind of hear about a lot in these kind of conversations. People talk about gendered sports or gendered bathrooms and that sort of thing.
Oh,
In your
in
imagination of this,
yeah.
would we still have those, but they would just be purely based on sex?
Yeah,
Okay.
because if we just have the in this world, there is the objective truth that you are either born male or female, and because those are objective truths that everyone would agree upon, we know there are inherent like biological differences that would make something like sports, if you like we can see now that transgender competitors, usually those who transition from male to female, dominate female sports because it's just they have a biological advantage, and so there would still be this separation.
So would that be a concern then, though? In some situations, like if you had a female athlete who's like biologically female, transition, and then they're on testosterone, is that a possible drawback of this idea? If they were then still had to be in the female sports? And they're competing with other females who aren't on testosterone, for example?
So, are you saying that? So you're saying like in an all-female sport, if one of the women decides to take performance-enhancing drugs or whatever, because
Yeah, well,
sorry,
they're,
I'm
well, like if they're
confused.
like if
That's what you're
that
saying.
female then is gonna, if they do a transition sort of thing and they start taking testosterone because they want to appear more male,
masculine.
for whatever reason. I know that you're saying there wouldn't be the boxes, so I don't.
Yeah,
know.
well, yeah, I guess that's a bit I need to clarify on, because there's still like I don't even think a guy should take testosterone, well, steroids, but even just any performance enhancers at all, that still wouldn't really be a thing. And if we got rid of the boxes, then we wouldn't have, I guess, in my mind, we wouldn't have the need for people to use steroids to feel like a man, because that's just trying to push your body into a direction.
So you're also saying that like if we got rid of the boxes, maybe
people would accept like what gender they were born as is part of who they are, but that's like physically
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's like if you're, because why do people take testosterone?
Why do people transition or any of that?
Well, yeah, it's like, why do people modify their body, especially in the case of like transitioning? It's because they don't feel like they're like they don't feel comfortable in their own body because they're.
I know that you're saying like in
that
this
there's something
society
else.
without the boxes, maybe people wouldn't have an impetus to do that. You're imagining?
Yeah, like they wouldn't feel the
But
need to.
would they still have the freedom to? Or should they have the freedom to?
Yeah, should they have the freedom to is a different question. I just don't like the thought of people putting chemicals in their body at all. Like whether it's a man boosting his own testosterone or a woman taking more estrogen.
Just a second, I'm gonna put some chemicals in my body. That's okay.
You know what I mean.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
just a joke, everybody.
Yeah.
Just a joke. Interesting. Well, I think I've got to go because I got to pick up some kids. I would like to keep talking, but maybe we'll see you again. Are you around this park a lot? I'm going to be here like maybe later on this week too.
Yeah,
Or do
I'll
you kind of
be-
go around to different parks sometimes.
Yeah, there's 11 parks here. I go around to all 11 of them and take care of them. And then our headquarters is right over on the other side of the skate park.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, I'll be around here more.
All right, yeah.
if you wanna talk
This week
more.
I'll be. I don't know if I'm going to be here every time. I might be in some different places. I think I might go down to like that tiny little park with the benches by the farmers market on Wednesday. I might be here. It's nice to have the shade, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Riki Park is a nice. It's they have some pavilions there with some shade, and it's also a little windy there too. So it's there's always a nice breeze there since it's a little lower down.
Oh, okay, cool.
But that's definitely a good place
Maybe
if you
I'll
want
check
to
that out,
find.
too. Cool. They have like a pavilion kind of thing down there too. I
Yeah,
think?
nicer pavilions too.
Oh,
but it's
cool.
right next to a playground, so there's like a lot of noise if you're worried about them. But then
That's
there's
all right.
also like trails that have. There's a trail that people frequent on where a lot of
Okay.
people walk by.
Okay. Maybe I'll check that out tomorrow.
Yeah, and there's like benches there too along the way. And
Awesome. Do you think you're still at 100% confident that if we got rid of the boxes, people's lives would improve?
yeah,
Okay. Do you still feel like you're around 85% that sex and gender are innate and identical and personality is chosen and what we call gender is part of that?
yeah.
Yeah?
I'd
Right.
actually kind of raise that up to a 90.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Do you think you have anything to think on, to chew on for a bit?
Definitely,
conversation?
definitely towards the end when we started talking about like whether people even in this world of no boxes, people should be able to augment their body how they feel in order to feel, well without discrimination. I do need to think of that because that's an aspect I haven't thought
Something to
of.
take home and think about, right?
Yeah.
I have a gift for you. Feel free to take one of these. Little reminder of our conversation, and if I see you again, you can get another one. Maybe you can build up the whole set. Like I said, I'll be around this week, so.
All right,
But I've got to get going. I got to pick up my kids. So.
All right.
Well, hey, Reid, it was great talking to you.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Oh, here, you can keep this as well. Your sheet there. We wound up getting started on a different topic and never went all the way through it. So
Well,
maybe we
it's
can
a
pick back up on that.
conversation starter.
It's a conversation starter, exactly.
And if I do see you again, I'll have something to talk about. I'll try and think of something to talk about for if I do
Awesome.
meet you again.
How'd you think this conversation went overall?
This was great. I really appreciate what you're doing here
Cool.
with epistemology and everything. I do think that it is a public service. It's something that needs to happen. That
Yeah.
and I appreciate what you're doing here.
Yeah, people need to be able to talk about these sorts of things in a way where we can examine them critically, but everybody still feels respected and we can keep it civil.
I feel very respected.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reid.
Yep, you have a good day.
You too.
Thanks for taking the time to watch this video all the way to the end. I hope you found it thought-provoking, or at least entertaining. If you appreciate the content and tone of what I'm producing, please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and ringing the bell to be notified when I release a new video. Your support helps me continue creating more videos like this one. I also encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments section. Respectful discourse centered on constructive criticism goes a long way toward helping me improve. Please remember to be kind to everyone featured in the video, just as I am to be when practicing street epistemology. Stay curious and keep questioning.